Andrew Burton. Hello, everybody. Welcome to CripChat, your weekly podcast for everything disability. Today, I have with me Jonathan Shar, Ibby,
Hello.
and
How's it going?
Andrew Burton.
G'day.
How are we today?
Yeah, we're very good, thank you, David. How's Jonathan and Andrew?
Oh, you go.
Fine.
And the week.
I'm
What are we going to be talking about today?
all the for talking to all of you. How are you, Andrew?
Oh, I'm good. I'm in a bit of a flare, but I'll manage. A bit tired, but yeah.
Yeah, no, all good, all good.
Well, last week we had we spoke about what did we speak about
Yes,
last week?
David, yeah. Sorry about that. Look, just to recap, last week we spoke about Australian disability enterprises and the idea of modern slavery and how it's affected us all for, people with disability. So this week, we're going to be continuing on with that. So for those that are tuning in, if you have any comments you want to provide, any thoughts into modern slavery and how it's had an impact on you, let us know in the comments. Let us know. Welcome, gentlemen. Hope everyone's had a good week. Yeah, it's been a long week. But anyway, back to the podcast. So, in regard to the Australian Disability Enterprises, how exactly has it impacted on your daily living, David? You've been involved in the sector.
What,
How has it impacted on your daily living?
for example, what do you mean? Give me an example.
Working, going to work, working longer hours, and just getting paid that
Well,
minimum
but
amount.
at the end, the problem with that is you don't have you you want to go to work, you want to get paid, but because they're going to give you a minimum, you don't want to do the extra hours.
Yeah. Of course,
And
of course. It's a
you don't you
long
don't you
day.
don't you don't feel you want to contribute more because you're getting less, and they're getting you're doing the same job as someone that's got no no disability, and or you're doing it better because we do it through passion.
Oh yeah. You tend to be more productive. That's have shown. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Andrew?
Well, for me, a lot of these ADEs have no idea what to do with me because most of my disability is centered around fatigue and brain fog. So if I do work, I do need to lay down quite a lot or take periods where I need to sleep or lay down.
Yeah.
A lot of workplaces don't have the space for that or equipped for that, nor are they really good at like pacing activity to fit my kind of spoons, as they say in the chronic illness community. So yeah, you tend to get parked. You don't get offered jobs, or if you do get offered jobs, like I was talking about last week, I was offered the same job that I was doing previously before I got ME for less than $10 an hour. and you watch able-bodied people doing the same work that you used to do, getting paid a living wage, and you just feel
Yep.
you're a slave because you're getting paid $10 an hour for the same work, and all because you've got the disability label attached to you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You look, for me, when I first entered the, the workplace, I remember going through the disability employment, service agencies, and look, mind you, that they threw me in a restaurant style kind of a job where, they, serve food and that. Now I have a physical condition, so I use a physical wheelchair. Now I wasn't a waiter per se, but I was, my role was to do the accounting work. I was there to do the accounting work. Now, when I signed the contract, I believe back then the minimum wage was $12.50 an hour, according to the Shad's award, and so the boss here just signed me off right away. Told me, "Radio, you're getting paid $12.50 an hour, so minimum wage." So I agreed. I agreed because I was new to the workplace. And so I got into my job. Well, no, not necessarily. I did not get one single experience in the accounting field. I was dealing with the letters all day and working out how to use a Macintosh work. Now I worked for 32 hours, mind you. Still haven't got paid yet. And so I decided to follow up. I decided enough was enough. Was a communicator with me. Yeah, there was I guess a crack in the system. I left. Mind you, this was 8 years ago, 9 years ago now. Still chasing my wages. So yeah, it's been nine long years. I don't think I'll ever see that money in my life.
What, Ibby, what did you, how did you find that job?
Yeah,
Through
look,
which,
I wasn't necessarily given the job I was set to do. To be frank with you, they promised me, they're gonna get the systems in place, they're gonna get everything prepared, but it never fell through. It never fell through. I waited a month for them to, get the system installed, and so yeah, I left. And mind you, it wasn't accessible to get into, the actual restaurant. So it was three large steps to get into the restaurant.
okay, so it wasn't accessible.
They provided me with a portable ramp, but the portable ramp was like, 'cause it was so old, like it was about to, break. And yeah, I could have
Okay,
trust them. I was gonna fall, fall
and
to the ground.
was the toilet accessible?
Oh yeah, and this is what I get. There is an accessible toilet in the restaurant, but getting inside the restaurant is not accessible. So it made no sense whatsoever. Yeah, yeah.
That wouldn't make sense.
It wouldn't. No, no, no. It wouldn't. But yeah, look. I left. I left. I worked 32 hours. No pay. Miscommunication. And yeah, so I went searching for another job. But what I'm saying, what I'm trying to get at is,
Right.
yeah, look, it's hard. It's hard for people with disability to, find a job. And when they do, they get some ridiculous, job. just so the government can give them a pat on the back and give them some kind of small way like pocket money per se. And if people want to be independent, growing up, they won't be able to do it just saving what $3 a day.
Mm.
It's completely ridiculous. There is a crack in the system.
So, our next question is, how is it fair to be paid below the minimum wage rate because of your disability?
What are your thoughts, Andrew? Is
Well,
it
my
fair?
thoughts is it's not fair at all, really.
No.
Because you look at able-bodied
Well,
people that are like other payments, like job seeker or the age pension, for example,
Yeah.
they can earn up to a certain amount before they meet their threshold to be cut off the pension. I don't think any
Mm.
disabled person working on with these ADEs ever meet the threshold because the pay is so low. But also, like, just from a human rights point of view, and because I've got both born and acquired disabilities, but like with the acquired disability, just like the change from that of being able to have a disposable wage and being able to spend that on whatever I want without the government tracking me or whatever from when I was working full time before ME, compared to being on the DSP and not having access to a disposable income, your quality
Yeah.
of life just drops when you don't have a disposable income. And
Exactly.
so when we talk about disabled people being self determined, and like we just had Disability Pride last month, right?
Yep.
Look
Yep.
at it. Look at the other Pride movements like LGBTQIA and Black Pride and all of that. They're able to build the resources to promote their Pride events because they have a population that can be self-determined and earn money to do so.
Mhm.
But with Disability Pride, we can't because the government puts us in these situations where we're second-class citizens, where we can't even be
no,
self-determined because we can't even earn the money to build that
Yeah.
self-determination. Yeah.
More
you
like
could say we're limited.
Mm.
We're limited.
more like third class. Go on.
Mm.
Go on. Yeah. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Mm.
It's ridiculous. What are your thoughts on that, David? Is it fair?
Well, I don't think it's fair, but it seems like they're trying to say, "Oh, let's keep them busy. We'll give them the pension, and let's just keep them busy."
No. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. Look, we got a comment here. Hello from Western Australia. I'm on the DSP, but not in the IS yet. I watched the previous episode. I've never been in ADE, but I reckon I'd rather volunteer than be paid less than the award wage. Yeah,
Oh,
look,
exactly.
mhm. Yeah,
You
but
know
look,
what?
yeah, yeah, David.
She, what they said there. I'll rather volunteer than get paid the less than the minimum wage
Mm.
because then that way you know you're giving it out of your free
Yep.
will.
Mm, yeah,
Yep.
but I don't think people should, think that way. I mean, look, it's good to volunteer every now and then. I volunteer in many, I guess, organizations, but if you're gonna be paid to do work, you need to be paid just like everybody else.
Mm.
If
Well, yeah,
if
look,
if the quality of work is like everyone else, you should be getting paid as much as others.
Mm.
yeah,
Well,
exactly.
I relate really well to that last comment because that's exactly what I did. Um, the ADEs didn't really know what to do with me, and then like I still wanted a purpose and I still wanted to do something with my life, even though I spend most of it housebound. But I still want to be giving or contributing to the community some way. And even though I couldn't get work, I just ended up volunteering and doing all the modern slavery and
Mhm.
advocacy for people with my condition, that kind of thing. So like I totally get it, and that's exactly what I did. Like I rather volunteer, and
Yep.
at least I can see the change and the benefit that way than being treated like a third class citizen in modern slavery. I mean, you've respect and
And
disrespect.
and
I'm going to choose respect by building my
and,
own.
and exactly.
Mm.
And Andrew, you can also put that into your resume too.
Mm.
Mhm. Yeah, awesome, awesome.
So the third point
Yep.
is how do we engage the AD management to raise our concerns with coping inside the subservient workplace environment.
Yeah, look, thank you for asking the question, Jonathan. But we just have a comment from I think sorry, BE. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's what I mean. If I work, I'd want to be paid the same as anyone else. Good stuff. Good stuff. So yeah, look, David, what are your thoughts? How do we engage the ADE management to raise our concerns with coping in such a subservient workplace environment? I guess for us. It's you just like we mentioned last week, using our voice. Getting that confidence to use our voice. Getting ourselves out there.
My thoughts are probably a bit more
Well,
radical, a bit more union based. But I think at the moment it's kind of pointless talking with management because it's just so corrupt. They get the money from our labor, they also get money from the government. So there's no really incentive for them to change anything at the moment. Um, Taking a union based approach, I think the best thing we can do is strike. And like you said, it is use our voice and make a voice and make it heard and show what the conditions are in these places, like by bringing it out on media such as these podcasts or on TV or in the Senate. I think Senator Jordan Steele John was talking about some of these ADE environments. I think that's the only way we can change because currently talking to ADE management's just falling on deaf ears because we're just a money making machine for them, basically. Um,
uh,
Yep.
and if we strike and they can't get their money, then perhaps something might change. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I think
No.
if you find a job but you go through sort of management and talk to them and have a discussion with them and do it the human way. If they'll pay us the proper way, maybe they'll pay us the proper wage.
I
Oh
think by
yeah.
refusing to work for slave wages, we've got to remember we can negotiate enterprise agreements as well, but we don't really have a
Yeah,
voice or an advocate to help us do that. But if an ADE offers us a job where we're only getting paid $4 an hour, we have the right to say no, I'm not taking that job. And
Yeah,
if another,
obviously we've got the right to say no.
they have to lift the wages, right, for someone to take the work on. But then you get into the
Yes.
problem of people on work for the dole, the job seekers being forced into those positions as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's complicated.
Yeah, yeah. No. So, what does our future look like in our workplace setting? As Australian Disability Enterprise, and exactly how best can we contribute to this future? So, look, things need to change, and I stressed that out last week. We need to recognize people, for their work and for their, I guess, what do you call it? For their knowledge, the knowledge that they have,
Mm.
and not just, I guess,
Uh, and also the
taking them,
contribution.
using them for their advantage. Sorry, go ahead, David.
And for their contribution. A lot of people, a lot of businesses that are managed by people with disability, I think, can be also be paid like normal people.
Mm.
So if you
Hmm.
could start
Exactly.
up a business that's managed by disability, will be won't everyone else get paid be paid the same? Because
Hmm.
the manager is disabled, got a disability, and the rest will have a disability.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think more representation in these companies of disabled people, especially in elevated positions, needs to happen because I mean the big thing in our community is nothing about us without us. But I'm not
yeah,
sure if I could name many. Well, I think Dylan Alcott has a ADE now, doesn't he? But that's probably the only bloke I can think off the top of my head that's disabled that runs the ADE. I think most of them are run by able-bodied people or able-bodied
Well,
mhm,
management.
well, well, Vision Australia, I think, has a disabled person. I don't know.
Oh, are they an Australian
and
disability enterprise, though? Or are
Vision
they just a
Australia,
charity?
they're not charity,
yeah,
but
you sure,
I'm not
David?
sure. Vision
Mm.
Australia,
Mm.
I'm not sure if it's charity, but it's still.
If anyone in the knows what David's on about, please provide in the comment. Um, Look, it's good that Dylan Alcott has his own ADE, and because he has that experience and he
Mm.
has that knowledge of like what the needs are for people with disability. And hopefully, yeah, he won't pay people. Well, the organization won't pay $2 an hour, but to actually recognize a person for you know who they are rather
Mm.
than just some money making object.
I think we also need
So
to move
yeah.
away from, well, with the supported wage system, it's all based on comparative, like, so what the disabled person is comparative to an able bodied worker, whereas it should be
Yeah.
met by, well, how productive are they in the
Hmm.
workplace? But also, we should be moving away from that system and be going
Hmm.
to an hourly rate of, well, this is the minimum wage per hour. If you're going to tell disabled people they need to meet to a KPI, which is a key performance indicator,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's going to cause things like further disability or injury or neglect because they're going to feel like, oh, we have to work up to this able bodied rate to get a minimum wage rather than working within their capacity or the workplace modernizing to fit a disabled or injured person's capacity. They do it with work cover
Exactly.
already. If an able
Hmm.
bodied person is injured on the job, they modify the job for
Yep.
them to be able to come back to work. There's no reason they can't
Hmm.
do it for disabled people.
Exactly. Exactly. They should have
Well,
that
I
fair
agree with
assessment
you. I
rather
agree.
than comparative analysis. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
But would it be fair if someone is packing something and they get paid for the amount they pack?
Yeah, but again, the problem is comparative to an able-bodied person packing to a disabled-bodied person, there's going to be a disparity there. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
Yeah,
and this is what I
sure.
was talking about on the piece rate when I cross-examined the piece rate. I said, well, piece rates based on your average competent picker, and then I asked the person, well, who is your average competent picker? Is it a male able-bodied person, or are
Yeah.
you splitting between the genders? Are you splitting between ability and disability? How how do you adjust for a disabled person earning minimum wage on the piece rate if your average competent picker is an able-bodied white person? You know,
Mhm.
so when they do that, it's not it creates a loophole to create these kind of modern slavery like wages, which is why we introduced a floor rate onto the piece rate on the horticultural award. They could easily do the same thing with the supported wage system. Have a floor rate for the disabled person if it's based on production. So from the start, they get minimum wage. If they manage to boost their production, cool, they get a bonus. If they want to do it like that way, it could work.
yeah,
But if they do it the way that they're
yeah.
doing it, everywhere they've had this kind of piece rate or rate based on production is where we see these modern slavery like wages and loopholes for employers to legally underpay their workers.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. They should at least put minimum wage and if and incentives if they do perform better.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
even with that, like able-bodied people are always going to get the bonus because they can perform better. So that's why I don't like these performance-based rates because it's
Mhm.
they're inherently ableist because it's
Mhm.
set up in a way where either women, people with disabilities, injured people won't be able to meet that comparative rate or get the bonus. So I think keeping to an hourly minimum wage is the best, and then bonuses like they do in normal businesses. But
Mm.
Yeah,
yeah, it's a hard one to
Good point.
navigate. But
Good
yeah,
point. Yeah. But something to think about anyway.
yeah.
Something, yeah, to take away.
Mm.
Yeah, look, on that note, um, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Uh, oh, Jonathan, we haven't heard much from you.
My final thought is I dream of a future where we're judged by our capabilities based on our situation, not held up to an unrealistic archetype of what a quote unquote able bodied person produces because that would only entrench inequality.
Yes, yes.
That's a
Good
great
point.
point. I'd like to
Uh,
follow on from that too, because
yep.
this is what we're trying to change with our society. Yeah, is we're trying to remove the barriers that increase inequality, like Jonathan was saying. So if we mod,
Mm-mm.
and this is why under this kind of capitalistic system, I hate to sound like an extreme leftist, but um, uh, they don't want to modernize, or the workplaces have kind of been like the last place, along with housing and some of the other things that they want to increase access to. And if we
Yep.
remove barriers and increase access, it benefits everybody because we all get old, we all get injured, and we want to make sure everyone gets paid equally and treated fairly and have access to buildings, workplaces, relationships, community, that kind of thing. And
Yeah,
the
yeah,
workplaces that are saying, "Oh, this is too expensive, we can't do it," blah blah blah, they're putting a cost value on us and basically saying we're not worth it, which is what
yep,
breeds this type of discrimination, and that's what we've got to fight and get rid of.
yep. Fair point. That's a very good point you raised. David, over to you. What are your final
Yeah,
thoughts?
my final thoughts. I believe that everyone should be getting paid to according to their knowledge and their capabilities. Now, and we should all get minimum at least, at least. Well, not like a minimum for a normal rate, not for a disability.
Yep, yep. It's a good
And
Well,
point, David.
we're all normal. It's just that the
yeah,
able-bodied
yeah,
person
just
seems to
no, no,
separate.
no,
Yeah.
minimal
Mm,
able bodies.
mm, mm.
Yeah, building on what everyone
If
said. Yep, David.
Get
Sorry,
rid of
go
the
ahead.
two-wage system. We can't have a system where
yeah,
one group of people is getting paid less than another group of people. It's not.
yeah,
It's not
because
right.
It's all right.
a lot of the times they say we don't want to affect your pension, but let it
Mm.
affect our pension.
Yeah.
Yep,
Let
yep.
us make that
But
decision.
it's still gonna exactly let
Yeah,
it affect our pension.
Yeah.
yeah. Look,
Let,
look.
But
The
we still give them
government,
the money.
mm,
the government needs to focus on capabilities rather than disabilities.
mm. But also, an able-bodied person, if they're on job seeker, they can choose to work up to the threshold and say, "Okay, look, I'll do 4 or 5 days a week before my job seeker gets cut off or whatever." Disabled people should have the same option. Okay, look, I can work 8 hours a week due to my capability, or I can work 16 hours a week before my pension gets cut off. Let them make that choice. Don't let the business make the choice and say, "Oh, well, we don't want to affect your pension, so we're going to underpay you." There's no
Exactly, it's spot on.
justification.
Spot
We're
on.
gonna make you work
Mm,
more and give you less.
exactly. Yeah.
Spot on. Spot on. Awesome, awesome conversation. Yeah, something to think
Let us
about,
have
something to take away.
self determination. Let us have the choice. Nothing about us without us.
Without
And
us, exactly,
it's the other way at the moment. That's the problem.
exactly. Thank you
Thank
for that. Something to take
you.
away.
Oh, what was that, Jonathan?
Thank you, guys. Look, yeah, tune in next week. We'll be talking more about the Australian Disability Enterprise and how it's affecting us people with disability. So very good points to take